been a while. Thought I'd pop on here and give you a life update. It is a beautiful Saturday in March. It's sunny and temperature is probably around 40 degrees. We've had a definite spring warm up, but I think the temperature is coming down again over the next week. It's that time of the year, roller coaster weather. But yeah, I have some important updates about health and hiking to fill you in on. So back in December, I had COVID, and on the third day of having COVID, my heart rate started to race and then slow down and race and slow down, and felt like I was having palpitations. And this is not a new incident for me because it happens to me. It was happening infrequently, but the older I get, the more frequently it seems to happen. And on that particular day, it went on for a couple of hours, and I was a bad nurse and talked myself right out of going to the emergency room. But with wanting to do a lash on the AT in the spring, I decided I better get it checked. So I went to a cardiologist and had an echocardiogram, which I think might be normal. I'm not sure. And he also prescribed a 14-day heart monitor, which I just wore on my chest over my heart for 2 weeks. Sent that back in, and I just saw the preliminary report on that, and thankfully it did capture what was happening, and it's what I suspected. It's a supraventricular tachycardia, and I have a follow-up in 2 weeks on the 1st of April, and hopefully it's only gonna maybe require a new medication or changing a medication, because I have high blood pressure, and there are medications that can control high blood pressure and your heart rhythm. So that's what I'm hoping will be the outcome of that. The next news I have is that 6 weeks ago, I was helping a coworker, and we were trying to position a patient in the pain room who was very heavy, and her face was like pushed into the pillows on the bed, because you lay on your stomach, and she was going to suffocate on those pillows. So we were trying to very quickly help her get her face off of those pillows, and I tweaked my right wrist, and I mean, there was a momentary ow, but it wasn't excruciating, so I was like, whatever. But every time I twisted, every time I circled my wrist, I kept feeling the ow, and writing on paper, I could feel it, and I was like, uh-oh. So I hemmed and hawed for a little while, and then just talking to my coworkers, I was like, do you think I should report it? Because it happened on the job. And they're like, yeah, you should definitely report it. And I'm very glad that I did report it, because it hasn't gotten better with using a wrist brace or anything else. Anyway, the same day they sent me to one of the hand surgeons that I work with, who in my opinion, is the best one. And he did an x-ray the same day and saw a few things in my x-ray that indicated he said to me on the very first day, what I think happened is my ulna is longer than it should be, and he thinks that it slammed into the lunate bone, which is one of your wrist bones that looks like a moon if you can see it outside of the body. Anyway, and also that bone has a cyst on it, and the cartilage on that side of your hand, which is on the pinky side of your hand, is kind of thin and delicate. So he thinks he thought I injured my TFCC, which is the trifibrocartilage complex. 2 weeks later, it was better, but it was still happening. 2 weeks later, the same thing. I can't not have some kind of splint on my right wrist that certain motions cause a significantly noticeable pinching pain. And so at the 4-week follow-up, he ordered an MRI of my wrist because he figured, now's when we should be looking at it. And I had the MRI this past Wednesday, and then I asked if I could see the radiology report for the MRI, and the radiologist said that the tissue, the bones, it confirmed what the surgeon said, that those two bones collided and actually punctured the cartilage. Which, good news, I know what's wrong. Bad news is it's probably not going to get better without a surgical procedure, because the surgical procedure would be to do a wrist arthroscopy and clean up the tissue, but also to shorten the ulna, because the ulna is so long, the ulna keeps hitting the lunate bone, and I think that's what's causing the pain. And I had a chat with the surgeon's PA who I work with, and she said that's probably what he's gonna suggest, is having that surgery. Thank goodness I reported it, because it's a workman's comp issue, and they have been paying for everything, and they will pay for your wages, 2/3 of your salary. They will pay you 2/3 of your salary in disability because it happened on the job, which is amazing. Because I asked his PA, what are we talking about for being out of work? And she said it will be at least 2 to 3 months out of work. If it was just a broken ulna, it would be 6 weeks, with the possibility of returning to full duty after a couple of weeks. But 2 to 3 months with possible restrictions, and there's no light duty where I work. So, the good news is it'll be a vacation. The good news is I will get 2/3 of my salary, hopefully, if it's approved by Workman's Comp. I know how to live on very small amounts of money. And I mean, I broke my ankle and managed to figure out how to survive for, it was like 6 or 8 weeks without any income that I'm used to getting. So it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. But unfortunately, if there is surgery, that is the end of my planned AT section hike this year, which, you know, what are you gonna do? I need my wrist. I need my hand. I'm right-handed. You can't live like that. And I asked if I could go backpacking, and she said, only if you know for sure you're not gonna fall. And let's face it, I do not know that for sure because I fall. I fall on the regular. If you watched any of my AT lash videos from last year or the year before, you know that I fell on my face on both of those hikes. And before falling on your face, your hands hit the ground. So that's that, Jack Sprat. I think I'll be okay to hike in Yosemite in October because California trails are pristinely maintained, and usually there are no tripping hazards on a California trail. So, and that trip is not just about going to Yosemite. We're also going to visit my boyo in Arizona and his family. So all is not lost. It is just postponed. And it's okay because somewhere around the time that this injury happened, it was either right before it or during it, I thought to myself, you know what? I think next year by the summertime, I'm just going to go per diem again, and I'm going to start getting Social Security because I turned 62, and finish the rest of the trail in one season. I have half of it to do. I need to do Maine and a little bit of New Hampshire, and then I need to do New York. I need to do all of New England, with the exception of most of New Hampshire. And I need to finish Virginia, and then I'll be done with the trail. And I do love the idea of finishing the trail in one gigantic section hike. I mean, 1,100 miles, that's like almost a full through hike. Anyway, so those are my thoughts about that. And I'm just so thankful to God because I swear, like, getting this full-time job was so spur of the moment. It was orchestrated. He orchestrated it all because he knew this was going to happen. And that to me is just mind-blowing. He wasn't surprised at all. And even the day that it happened, I don't usually say anything about stuff like this. It was so small. It was so small and insignificant. There was no swelling, there was no excruciating pain, and I was like, it's fine. And I don't know, it just kept niggling at me, and I believe it was the Holy Spirit saying, no, you should report this. God is so good. He knew it was going to happen, and he set me up to be financially okay this time. Not like the time that I let everything Well, I didn't have any savings when I broke my ankle. So this is definitely, I feel like this was definitely completely choreographed by God for my benefit and for his glory. So that's the update. I hope everything is good in your world. And yeah, let me know what's up. Thanks for watching. See you next time.